Quý vị đang chuẩn bị đi vào tham quan một cái động ở San Antonio.
Because we as humans have oils and acids on our hands that will damage these formations. They might stop growing, they might get damaged. So I'll ask that you please don't touch any of those ceilings, walls, or formations. Then we'll make our way down, and you also won't be allowed to bring any food or drinks inside except for bottled water. Bottled water is perfectly fine. So you have anything you need to throw away. There was some weathering and erosion in this area, and that made that sinkhole roof collapse in. The only part that's left is this little 60-foot expanse of limestone above us right here, and that is known as our natural bridge, where we get our name from, Natural Bridge Caverns. But thankfully that collapse was a very, very long time ago. Now, people in this area knew about this sinkhole since the 1900s. Farmers and ranchers had to avoid it so their cattle didn't fall down here. But it wasn't really explored until 1960. That was when 4 explorers from St. Mary's University Grotto from San Antonio, Texas, they came right down here and they got permission to explore. They didn't really find much of anything until their 4th trip. On March 27th, 1960, they found a little 120-foot crawlway that led down to about 2 miles of cavern that we're going to get to walk through a little bit of today. These caverns started being developed. We got our trails, handrails in 1963. The first ever tour went down July 3rd, 1964. We also have a couple of plaques right here you guys can see. The lower one is for our discoverers and developers. If you're curious about who they were and what their names are, they're right down there. And our upper plaque is for Miss Clara Wolf Wiest Heidman. She was the landowner at the time this place was discovered, and one of the main driving forces behind Natural Bridge Caverns development. So we owe a lot of this to her. White sign I'll ask you to stand behind. If you're not getting your photo taken, you'll be behind that sign for a bit, just in case, just to make sure you don't photo bomb the people in front of you. So I'll point out that little sign, but is everybody ready? Have any questions?
കണ്ണാടി മാറ്റിയോട് തോന്നുന്നു Okay, so now I'll take your video.
Welcome on down. We're now 45 feet below the natural bridge. The very first room, which is known as our bear pit. It's named that because during the first development of these caverns, our explorers discovered a 5,000-year-old black bear leg bone and an 8,000-year-old black bear jawbone in this very room. Now, they're not in here anymore. They're now on display up in our visitors center if you wanted to see them after the tour. They're very, very cool. But the coolest thing we have in this room is actually behind you guys. This little opening in the floor right here. That little hole is the Discovery Crawlway, where our explorers went down into the caverns for the very first time. So it goes on for 120 feet. At its widest, it's about 22 inches wide. At its thinnest, it can be 11 inches. So thankfully, we don't have to go through there, because it wouldn't be very fun. We're going to make our way down through these double doors in just a second. Those are our humidity doors. So through there, it gets a little bit more humid, a little bit steep and wet. So make sure to watch your step, and we'll make our way down. Anybody have any questions about anything? All right, let's make our way down. Wonderful formations we have here, mostly dripstones. These are formed by dripping water. So right back here we have our stalactites. Stalactites are on the ceiling. They hang on tight to that ceiling. And then there's stalagmites on the ground. They might call them very close. I like to call it a stalagmite, but my bosses don't like that. So we also have some pretty skinny stalactites right up here in this area. These are no longer they touch the ground. They're called cave draperies. So the interior decorating inside our caves. Also in this room, I can let y'all know how all these different formations come to be. 1 cubic inch is about 100 years. So we've got something maybe 10 inches tall, that's about 1,000 years. I can also show you guys this kind of stain on the ceiling. Does anybody want to guess what this might be? No? We've got another bat roost right over here. Now below this bat roost on the ground is a whole bunch of what our bats left behind. Does anybody want to guess what that might be?
Guano.
Ooh, some bat guano, or otherwise known as bat poop. About 5,000 years old. Welcome to our next room. So they named it after a monster. But that canyon did bring them into this room known as the Hall of the Mountain King. It's actually the largest room in our cavern system, the largest cavern showroom in the state of Texas. It's 100 feet tall, 100 feet wide, and 350 feet long. And of course known as Hall of the Mountain King. Now this room is so big because it was formed through a slightly different process than some of our other rooms. You guys can see the ceiling right here. All these different kind of layers you can see. And then all the way at the top of the room, this little dome-like structure. This entire room forms a little dome. That's because of a process called collapse modification. It started about 20 million years ago when there were those earthquakes in this area of Texas. That created lots of intersecting cracks in the ceiling in this room in particular. So that made the ceiling very, very weak. Now, our caverns used to be filled with water, so the buoyant force of that water supported the ceiling. But it couldn't do that forever, so the ceiling eventually collapsed and fell down. The water started to recede, and that's when different pieces of the ceiling came down in layers, until they reached a stable layer. So everything that's left behind today are all these stable layers of limestone that we have left from that collapse.
Is it clean? The drink? Yeah, I think so. Bây giờ nước nó sạch lắm.
Đang đứng ở trong một cái hang động ở San Antonio, Texas.